So, here we are with game number 1. It's a best of 1 game, and it seems to be a very, very cool one. This was submitted to me from Solaris Gaming. They want to highlight a couple of their newer players and asked me to put a couple of these through. So if you're watching live on my stream, you are the first lovely people to see this. Otherwise, you're watching this most likely on Solaris's YouTube channel. So welcome, I'm Madals. Thank you very much for tuning into this. Anyway, let's get through and introduce these two players. Spawning down in the lower right hand position, representing Solaris Gaming, it is Mr. JonSnow, who is spawning to the south rather than up to the north. Not quite sure what's going on there. Someone doesn't know their Game of Thrones in Blizzard. Up in the top left though, we have got the teal Protoss player. It's Sad Arthur. Well, I'm just going to call it Arthur because I think referring to someone as sad the entire game either means that they're in a very depressed state, or that I don't really like them very much and like they're a bit sad. I'm not sure if that's a slang term only in the England, or if calling someone sad is kind of like a bit of a loser thing. I don't know. People often tell me these things that I use terms that just don't exist anywhere else in the world, like going up the apple and pears, which anyone in England, you know, that means going upstairs. But if I told you that I'm going to pick up the dog and bone up the apple and pears, some people would be like, what are you talking about? That basically means I'm going to pick up the phone, which is upstairs. Cockney slang. Anyway, in terms of openings, you've got a spawning pool coming down nice and early here from Mr. Snow. Meanwhile, Arthur, he's busy chilling about getting down a gateway expand. So both of these two opening pretty safely, nothing too crazy going on. I'm still busy trying to sort out my mouse, by the way. For those of you who weren't in the stream beforehand, I've just got a new streaming PC, which has allowed me to up the awesome of all the quality settings and things like that. But the downside is, I don't really know. It's kind of been a bit of a rush setup, and my mouse seems to still be doing some funky things. But that's fun. It makes it more exciting for me. If you don't really know what your mouse is going to do at any second, it can be quite concerning. Now, JonSnow, he's also going to be trying to get Arthur to be a little bit concerned with a couple of Zerglings speeding over across the map. They're bounding to joy. They find a probe. They've given it away. They're like, make sure there's no cannon rush. Everything's looking good here. And everything is looking good. Shouldn't be too much of a trouble to stop this. JonSnow has got himself a supply block by doing this. He used a double extractor trick just to edge on out those additional lings. Quite a nice move. I think the actual double extractor trick was in order to get the queen rather than more lings. Arthur, he's taking an expansion. It's only just now coming up, so he should be fine. With that Stalker on its way out onto the field, defending up against a couple of lings isn't going to be too much of a trouble for him. Should be able to stop it off, but more than anything, this is giving JonSnow a great bit of vision and just saying, you know what, if you do anything too greedy, I will punish it. 6 lings now preparing to try and get us around on this Stalker. Stalker frantically trying to get away, doesn't want to take this fight if he can help it, not out in the open. Just backing out, waiting for the Mothership Core to come on in, and a Stalker plus a Mothership Core will be able to deal with it, especially with Stalker just kiting away these Zerglings. All really nice stuff. Behind this, 6 drones in production. Nothing but the D coming down for John right now, but this is fine. He likes them drones, and as most Zerg players will tell you, you can drone up heavily, you're going to be in a good spot mid-game. So talking of that mid-game, what kind of things can we be expected to find? For the moment, Arthur just adding in one more gate. Should see at least one more. No, actually it's going to be the Forge. Oh. Oh, okay. This is quite cool. Generally speaking, you'll see 2 additional gates, plus either some tech or a 3rd additional gate off a gateway expand. What Arthur's doing though, is he's going a lot more greedy. Considering we've only got the 1 gas at the moment, I'm suspecting that we're going to see a lot of Zealots nice and quick, because they'll have +1 thanks to this Forge. And a good number more gateways coming through allows you to pump a lot, and I mean a lot, of Zealots to harass later on. In terms of a pylon down on the map, none yet, but there is a probe making progress across. Gonna be looking to try and find somewhere that he can just shove that down. Maybe go for a quick 3rd actually. That's another possible route that this could be taking, especially with this probe coming down to the 3rd. That's certainly a possibility. Something to be keeping an eye on. And yep, down it goes. 3rd Nexus, ultra quick from the Protoss player here. That's like 645. A really fast, macro heavy play. So it may actually be a big Zealot push after all. Probably what it is now. Meanwhile, back at home for JonSnow, he's adding in an additional gas That takes him up to 3, plus the Roach Warren. This screams a big Roach timing, especially since the third base has been a little bit delayed compared to a normal timing you'd expect. In terms of vision and what's been seen from these two, well, JonSnow doesn't know about the third Nexus, nor would he necessarily be trying to take a look at it. It certainly isn't something that you often try and get a peek at so early on. More likely concerned, hang on, there's quite a few sentries, plus the Forge. Is there a robo facility or something like that going into an Immortal Sentry all-in? Definitely something on the cards that most Zerg players have contended up against and are going to be keeping an eye out for. The important thing though is this third base. Can't stress it enough. The fact that this is coming down so early without being seen is a massive advantage over here for Arthur. It's just given him the freedom to do this without any risk of repercussions. The only downside is that regardless that it hasn't been scouted, JonSnow was still getting out a ton of Zerglings. Hasn't gone for any Roaches as of yet, but still 24 Speedlings is a fair few. And where are they now headed? Are they coming up to check at that third? Looks like yes they are. There's a good number of gateways down, but no cannon in the middle. Probes are going to die, and it is going to be a little bit of a pain to try and stop this. Photon Overcharge can be used on the Nexus to buy a bit more time, but it's actually the sentries that are getting a little bit caught out of position here. Move quite a long way forward, taking a good amount of damage. Gotta be cautious when this is happening. Already, one sentry and one Stalker have died, another sentry literally surviving with a handful of HP. The Photon Overcharge buys enough time, and the Nexus is saved. So all in all, those Lings actually did quite a good job. 28 Lings died in exchange for 13 probes, a Stalker, and a Sentry. Definitely the sort of trade any Zerg player will be very, very happy with. +1 though, nearly done as well for Arthur. He's still sitting fairly comfortable, only down by 4 workers, and his third base was actually done before that of his opponent. Generally, that's a nice spot to be in as well for a Protoss player. Being a base up, or being on equal basis, is generally quids in, something you're going to be quite happy with. But what you're not usually going to be happy with are Roaches barreling towards your third base when you've only got a very small number of gateway units in order to try and stop them. The probe going down may seem like a minor point, but it's actually huge. Without that probe, no pylon in a forward position, no walk-ins, makes this push a lot less scary, and it's actually the recall from the Mothership core that's going to be the critical cast if required. Roach is coming to the flank, recall immediately comes down, but not before a sentry dies. Good pick-off, definitely some nice play coming down here from JonSnow. JonSnow, is he going to go for the counter-attack? He's pumping a decent amount of army supply, up at 73 to 34. Not an insignificant number of units. A bit more damage being done. They're still generally chipping away nice and steadily. But these force fields have locked a lot of the army back, allowing this photon cannon to get taken down. The gateways block up some of the attack arc that can be used, so when this Protoss force, and if this Protoss force moves down, it's going to have a bit of a bad time. More probes get taken out, the third Nexus starting to get low, and more units rallied across the map for the Zerg. Roach speed is finished, Tunneling Claws is nearly done, and this is a scary looking army. The third Nexus, dead. These two pylons will depower all of the gateways if they're focused. But it's just the sheer volume of Zerg forces outside the front door that's going to be a concern for Arthur, and he's going to be making him a bit sad. He doesn't have enough to stop this, especially with only gateway units, and now having to contend with a rather substantial supply block as well. It's preventing him getting the units he needs out as quickly as he can in order to hold this. A lot of resources going down. That third base, big investment, has now been punished. And via a very aggressive opening from our Zerg player here, it's looking a little bit tough. Arthur needs to be very, very careful. Loses all of that third, all of that production, and is now really having to just keep on going. Note that he switched the Immortal for an Observer. The reason for that is due to seeing the Roaches with Tunneling Claws. He needed the detection more than pretty much anything else he could have got down on this map, because without it, he was going to have some really tough times if those Roaches just decide to burrow up and through, and he's managed to snipe down that photon cannon. Now though, Immortal production starting. It would appear Arthur is trying to prepare for a bit of a counter-attack, not attempting to retake the third, but instead wants to put on the pain. He's gonna have Blink, he's gonna have... Oh, he's already got +1, no +2 or +1 armor being searched as of yet. But still, this is all looking really nice for JonSnow. He's got a much larger force, a couple of Hydralisks being sprinkled into the mix. And just that little burst of Hydras gives such a greater damage output up against these Gateway and Immortal units that actually you're not going to trade too well as long as the positioning isn't diabolical for our zone. So really, as of now, it is 100% up to the Protoss player. Can these force fields be amazing? Can they hold? Firstly, go quite nicely. Cut out a few of the roaches. The Hydra still getting their damage down. The incredible concave and GG called right there allows JonSnow to win this game. So, that was some pretty awesome stuff coming through there. That was just the first game of a couple I'm going to be casting this evening. Thank you all very much for staying tuned in. I've got to make sure I keep sipping on my tea though. Because when I'm solo casting, I have a really bad habit of not drinking enough. And then my voice gets sore. And considering that tomorrow night I'm casting Go for SC2, and then the night after I'm casting a $200 show match on this channel, I need to make sure my voice stays good. So next, I'm going to be casting Silky versus Squirtle. That is another ZVP, and this is Squirtle from, of course, Korea. So this is going to be a very, very cool game. I'm incredibly looking forward to it. Probably not going to be casting too much this evening. I might switch into some actual playing after, probably not this game, the game after that. So just to keep myself nice and chill. It is the weekend, and I don't generally cast on weekends, so bear with me for that. Either way, we are in game. Let's jump to the action.